Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation. And my guest today is the amazing, spiritually aligned Bonnie Barness. She is a psychotherapist, shift life coach, hypnotherapist, speaker, and the author of Experiencing the Shift, a new way of thinking, seeing, and being. Also, the author of Freedom from Addiction, Finding the Balance, a guide to sane living, Manifesting Your Dreams, Experiencing the Shift Journal, and her latest workbook is The Soul's Lens. What's not to love about that? I have to say over and over again. That's what I live for. So
Oh,
thank you so much again for your presence. That's the second time that we are meeting in this platform. So the first question is always the same, Bonnie. Just as a brief introduction, how would you describe yourself in this very moment? Who is Bonnie?
yeah. I see myself as a spark of the infinite, beautiful light of cosmic consciousness, living an incredible, amazing adventure here on the planet Earth, learning, growing, and sharing the insights that I gain and the wisdom in order to support others in their own ascension process and in being happy and having a fulfilling, purposeful life.
Mm. The topic of our conversation today is the esoteric hidden ancient knowledge for personal ascension. And that's covered on in your workbook titled The Soul's Lens, as I mentioned. So I guess the very first question, besides the opening one of who you are, is what is like to grow into this concept of personal ascension? What does it look like? I know you described yourself, and I think that very much fit that, that idea. But talk to me a bit more about that. For those who are not familiar with what that means, what is your take on that? What's your definition of personal ascension?
So it ties together with the question you asked me. So I do believe that we're all a spark, a beautiful spark of the all. And even though everyone feels so separate here, we're actually all part of one. And our experience here on Earth is to be able to realize that we are all part of one and that we're not actually in reality separate. And it's about finding that way to the unity
Mm.
within ourselves and then within our families and within our communities in the world. So the ascension process is really connecting with our soul and who we truly are, and to be able to have more and more of it revealed in the world and felt within ourselves and then expressed in the world.
Mm.
And I've created a process in order to do that.
Yes. And this is what you do, right? Bonnie, this is your offering to this reality, to the world. You offer an exoteric knowledge master seminar, and that's a virtual seminar every first Thursday of the month. Is that accurate? I hope it is. I have the information here. So talk to me about what's the first step? How do you start showing that path of personal ascension to your clients or to your students?
Yeah, so when people come to me, I say that you're starting on a new path because it's really a different journey than the one that has people have lived before they came to me. And it starts with knowing that you want to have more. You're feeling something within yourself that's pulling you, that you know that there's more to life. You know that you have more inner power and beauty and you know it, but you don't know how to connect with it. And you don't, a lot of times people aren't feeling satisfied in their life and what they're doing. Or they might have certain challenges that they feel are just in the way of their being able to be their true self completely in the world. So the first step is knowing that you want more. That's part of my Experiencing the Shift book and the journal that goes with it. And the second step is making the decision to do whatever it takes to be able to be happy. And then you start gaining a lot of different pieces of information that are wisdom that's from ancient texts that are tied together that I've utilized to create this method. And then people experience a shift where they're really in the world in a different way. They're really actually very happy. Things are going well in their life. They're feeling wonderful about themselves. They've healed from the past. And then they continue to shift to higher and higher levels of consciousness, which is what we do in the Esoteric Knowledge seminar, master seminar. So we're looking at things that are underlying manifestations. We're looking at what really is behind all the esoteric knowledge that has to do with the wisdom, like all the things that have to do with energy and chakras and the different koshas are different energy bodies and how our auras interact with other people's auras and how, we connect energy cords with other people and just on that kind of level, versus the level of having to do with how we're interacting with people on a more conscious level.
Yeah.
And I'm a hypnotherapist. So we also work with the subconscious, and I do hypnosis with people where they do deep healing and get great, great insights.
Yes. Wow. That's what we talked in our first interview. We actually did an interview that was audio only and also another video one that we covered the steps as well. I was wondering because I was not really familiar with the workbook, The Soul's Lens, before 3 days ago. So is that would be the final step per se, Bonnie?
No, that's just one of the tools. That's one of the tools that people can use. But I think, I know that you're you've done a lot of reading into esoteric literature and texts. And so if you want to jump into those and delve more deeply into those, we can.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, that invitation. First, I wanted to actually, there's something that caught my attention, the question. So you said, through the soul's lens, you will begin to see how situations are created for that exact purpose. As you go through each situation, you begin to ask yourself the following questions. So the first question about, is there a spiritual lesson to be learned? This has to be with the assumption that only certain things are spiritual, right, Bunny? Because I don't have that understanding. To me, everything is spiritual. Everything is God's mind, per se, is God's dream. So it's not, as you said, there's no separation, really. So for somebody like me, how could I rephrase that question so I
Okay.
can get a clear view of what I'm looking for?
Right. Okay. So there are a lot of things that happen in our life and we think they're random and we don't realize that they're actually part of it's really God's hand or the spiritual forces that are involved with our own growth and our own evolution, spiritual evolution. And so when you start noticing like coincidences and you start noticing different things that are happening and you start paying attention to it, you're looking at it from a different vantage point and you start realizing that a lot of things fit together and they're leading you in a certain direction. And so also there's a lot of situations that come up where we have opportunities to grow. So there might be, you might get into a certain type of relationship and you have certain types of challenges or you argue a lot or there's certain issues that come up. And if you end up breaking up and you haven't worked through those issues, then you're going to end up bringing in another person that has certain things that are now going to allow you to look at that again and to see how you can grow within the situation. Once we've grown within the situation, then usually we don't keep having more situations come up in our life with that kind of challenge. So that's an example of how I've seen it happen over and over again. So when you're looking at life from a higher vantage point, from a spiritual vantage point, you're able to see that, oh, okay, here it is again. And now do I want to keep repeating this or do I want to learn from this and grow from it in certain ways? So then that's my ascension, part of my ascension, and I can learn and then continue being in the world more of my true self in the world now reflected because I don't have that any longer coming in my life. That's an example.
Yes, that's a very good example. I remember seeing that clearly at some point, right, on my path. The relationships I had, they're very similar. And they ended up, I'm married for the third time, and this my husband now, he still has, it's a reflection of the pattern of the past. But then what I did was I just stopped trying to look for something that would be different than, that didn't have that pattern, because that's what I tried before, I guess. By trying to change the situation, then I would ended up falling into the same one. So I just kind of stopped. That has been a huge insight for me, just not trying to make change for the sake of becoming happier or more peaceful, because I know I'm already that. So it has given me this sense of fulfillment in the moment, every moment.
The reason we keep bringing in the same type people with the same type of challenges or things that we don't care for, the way it's, instead of trying to change the other person, it's about making changes within yourself so that and most people think that things will be better if they change the other person. So what's happened for you is you've noticed you kept bringing in people with certain
Right.
things that you really didn't care for, but you decided, okay, since that's what I'm doing, I'll find a different way of keeping my peace within myself, staying connected to my true self, and just finding a way so it doesn't bother me as much. So that's one way you can do it. On the spiritual, and that's spiritual because you're developing yourself in terms of not letting somebody else take you away from your own happiness internally, right? Which is how it feels when we're connected with our true self.
Right.
We have opportunities, though, to be in a relationship and to grow a lot within ourselves so that we don't continue bringing in those type of people. And we have grown in certain ways that we wouldn't bring in those people any longer. And we wouldn't choose to be with them any longer. And we'd start bringing in different types of people. So that has to do with, it depends on the situation. You could give me a certain situation, I could share it with you. But it has a lot to do with knowing how we deserve to be treated, knowing that that we're not willing to be around people who treat us a certain way, being with people who, to be able to be in a committed relationship, you have to have the same vision of what you want to create. Love isn't enough. And a lot of people feel like they love the person, so then they are in a committed relationship, but what they want to create so different. So it doesn't work out. So they're not happy because they're not going in the same direction. So we're talking in a lot of generalities, but those are examples of the people who come in our life, or if we're repeating certain patterns in terms of in the workplace, or not feeling that we're able to manifest our dreams, or it depends. It's in every area of our lives.
Right. And that's true. The nature of the reality that we are in, it is change, isn't it? It's constantly changing. It's a dreamlike reality, really. Everything's coming and going like smoke. So why would I attach any of my deep desires in a sense of infinite, unlimited happiness and peace in something that is by its nature temporary and limited? So I guess that's what I came to realize at a deeper level.
Yeah, so that's good. Let's go there, okay? So on one level, that's true,
Yeah.
right? Because this is one level of consciousness that we're in, and there's other planes of existence, and we're here for a certain amount of time, and then we leave. The thing is, I believe that we're here for a really important reason, and so it's important for us to utilize our time here in bringing in more of the higher frequency and more of the higher vibrational energies and the spiritual energy into this plane. And I believe that's one of the main reasons we're here. I mean, it's like you can go through the life and enjoy it, but there's so much more that's available for us to do. And I think that you're doing so much with your podcasts. I mean, you're letting so many people listen to so many people that have a lot of wisdom. And so that's making a difference in the world. So I don't think you're only going through life just trying to be happy. I think that it's a purposeful life, and that you're utilizing it, and you're bringing in more of the light into the world through your own who you are and the beauty of who you are, and having been in your own path where you've grown and you've become more of who your true self is. And you've healed a lot of the things from your past as well. So, no, I think that our time here is really important, and that as we continue to grow, we're able to have more and more of our life be connected with what you're talking about, that other level of existence. We can and do, and that's what the Ascension process is bringing that more and more of that into the earth, into here. So if you're feeling peaceful and happy now, as you continue with the Ascension process, it expands, which has been what's been happening for you. No, I was going to say, and also on an energy level, the ancient texts talk about how our thoughts and our feelings are energy, they're vibrations. And so when we change our thoughts and our energy, our emotions, then our vibrational frequency is faster. And then we feel better, and that's part of the Ascension process. And that even though we appear to be physical, it's really just all energy. So when we do pass on, we take that energy body that we have been evolving while we're here, and our vibrational frequency and the changes within the structure of our energy body, we take it with us when our body passes on, and all of that continues with us when we're no longer here. So there's so much for us to do while we're here that that's just one example of it.
Yes. That has been my understanding too, of course, Bunny, that there is such a thing as the concept of a soul's purpose and having a purpose. It's a very interesting one, of course, that I embrace because it has to do with devotion. So it's almost like, what would be like to be the embodiment of God, the embodiment of pure consciousness? What would that look like? So that's a beautiful concept that I'm really in love with. But there is something, of course, when we talk about the relative reality, duality, that comes into play, right? If I wanted to be
Right.
healthier, of course, then I'll eat certain foods. If I want, yeah, and then this is very different from this basic fundamental knowledge that you are already what you're looking for. So that's always my starting point. Every time the mind starts to question why you're not doing this, why you're not, you know, reflecting more of consciousness. So I know it's the mind. In the mind, that's where it belongs to the world of the reality of duality. That's where it lives, and it belongs to it.
So the thing is that you said about the desire to embody the divine energy. And when you have duality, you're not able to embody it as much. It's available to you, but all the duality within yourself, the conflicts, the things that come up on a daily basis, disconnect you from that divine energy and that divine embodiment. So it sounds to me like you're talking about that you've had this duality going on between your mind, like you want to grow and then it's stressful and it creates a lot of stress. And so it's kind of like you've chosen to go one way versus the other. But the tree of life in Kabbalah, that's also the esoteric knowledge. It's about that everything, this earth was created with polarities, and the spiritual path is finding the middle path and to follow that and connect with that. And so instead of say, so that's the first thing. So instead of just saying, I don't want to listen to the mind and I want to connect with the just peace, there's a place in between that will lead to the ascension. So that's the first thing. The second thing another thing that based on what you're saying is we really only have this moment. And so if you're in the moment and you're connected with the peace within yourself, there will be things in life that are going to come your way. And you can't just stay just in a state of peace when these things are hitting you unless you find a way to come to terms and understand what that is so that you can then be in peace. If you say, I just want to stay at peace, and you're not like looking at why that is that it's bothering you in the first place, you're missing an opportunity to grow and to evolve and to go to a higher level of consciousness. So a person can say, you know what, I'm just going to, this isn't for you, but there are a lot of people who will be married for like a long, long time. And the way like one spouse will say, oh, I talk and my husband doesn't listen to me. And he's learned to not listen to her because it bothers him and they've never worked it out. And so he's at peace because he's like disconnected to a certain degree from what's going on, but they're missing a big level of intimacy, which would allow them to then evolve and grow consciously and have more of an intimate spiritual connection. So that's one way of dealing with life, to be able to say, okay, listen, and a lot of people who've been in a lot of pain, when they get to a place where it's like, okay, I found this way where it's peaceful, I just want to stay there. It's a big improvement. But there's so much more in life than just having the peace. There's passion and there's excitement and there's just such fulfillment. So to do that, it's about looking at when there's the polarity. It's about like looking and saying, what can I change within myself? What opportunity is here for me to grow so that I can be in that middle column and not just close it out, but to be able to learn from this. And that has to do with those different situations that arise in our life. We have an opportunity to say, okay, that's bothering me. Why is that bothering me? What is it within myself that it's connecting with that is causing this feeling inside of myself? Right. And then that's an opportunity for you to grow, because that leads you to higher levels of awareness and consciousness of yourself. And then you can, from that knowledge, you can then make choices. How do I want to respond to this? Or do I want this person in my life? Or, then it leads to growth and evolving versus blocking it out and saying, I'm just going to stay calm and at peace.
Yeah. My platform is called Fit for Joy for a reason, because I wanted to be happy. That was the first, desire, because I was in the midst of so much unhappiness that I wanted to find the way to happiness. And then it progressed into something called peace. Yeah, I wrote a book about it and I talked about forever, inner peace. And then evolved again. So it doesn't stop, it's the mind's, I guess, relationship with, or the mind's alignment with truth. So the more it's touched by it, trained by truth, the more it unfolds, right? And then you become aware of so many things. And it's fun, I have to say. So now it's basically truth. That's what I always ask for. Not peace, not happiness, none of it, not even clarity, although truth has to do with clarity.
Right. So that's part of the ascension process. So that's why I was saying earlier, you found a place of peace from so much pain. And that was through your own efforts to want to have more in life.
Yeah.
And now you're at a place where you're at peace. But if you're looking for truth, that's the path of ascension. Because when anything happens, you're looking at what's true here. What can I learn here? What's really real underneath the externals? What's the truth? And that's all part of the ascension process. And that's what's led me into having the esoteric knowledge master seminar, because there's so many truths that people don't talk about that have to do with beings that are non-physical, that are interacting with us in the world. People are having experiences, all kinds of incredible experiences that people don't even really talk about. And so it's like, okay, so what is that? And so you search for the truth. So when you have new experiences that are, you can expand and you can try to understand them and understand more what it is. And as you do, you get to have a bigger understanding of what the truth is, what reality really is. Right? So that's all part of the ascension process.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me, right? Within body, mind, I think, because you can't really look for truth within the absolute, because that's already the truth itself, right, Bonnie?
Right. Valeria, you say body, mind, so that's true. But the thing is, for example, when people astral travel, okay, they're no longer in their physical body and they're having experiences.
Yeah.
They're not really thinking. When you do astral, when you're in other dimensions, you're not really thinking. It's more you're observing and you're having experiences. So the body mind is here in the physical, but there are many other dimensions that exist that are not just the body mind. And so the more that you're able to, in your search for truth and in people's search for truth, and as they ascend and as their vibrational frequency increases, because your sense joy is a much higher vibrational frequency than pain. And so you've moved so much from living with the lower vibrational frequencies of all that pain because of the environment you were in and how it affected you. You've been able to heal so much that your own vibrational energy and frequency is fitting much more your own soul, which is a soul of beauty and love and joy. And so now as that you're doing that and you're open and your mind and all of your being is open to truth, there's all these truths that are out there that start to come to you as your vibrational frequency increases. And that's the information that I share with when my clients have gone through a number of shifts so that they've shifted out of the pain. They're in a place of feeling that peace in their life. We continue because there's so much more that's in this reality here that's more than our 5 dimensions. And there are so many people that have gifts that are using what people call the sixth sense. And that starts to develop also more and more as a person evolves and ascends and their vibrational frequency gets higher. And it's really interesting because there's so many, like the people that are in my groups, people are having unbelievably a tremendous amount of synchronicities that are happening. I mean, a lot, and everyone's experiencing them. And so I'm learning all the time, because we're always I'm delving into all these other layers of what exists. And it seems to me it's very tied together with the vibrational frequency of our group has gotten so high with the types of information we're talking about and with the way everyone's opening up to these higher levels of consciousness that's actually impacting. There's things that are happening in the physical universe that are not the norm of what happens in the physical universe. And it's happening in all of our lives. So it's really exciting because when you talk about the earth and what we have here, and this isn't reality, well, people who are on this path and have at this level of ascension, they're realizing more of what this physical reality actually is that people haven't been able to see. Our senses, our five senses are actually, if you kind of imagine our body as an avatar that our consciousness is in, well, that avatar body is created to be able to see and see only a certain amount of what's actually there. When people talk about what we can see in terms of colors, what we can hear in terms of sound, right? Dogs, animals can hear a lot more than we can. So and when people look at different types of electromagnetic frequencies, and you look under a microscope, you can see so much more than our eyes can see. So there's all of this that's there. And as people ascend and they evolve, they start to see and connect more and more with that. And as they do, they start integrating it into their own life more. And that's the ascension. That's part of the ascension.
Yes. The experience of being is so much more than just being in the body, experiencing through the five senses, of course. Has been very obvious to me since I was very little as a child.
Valeria, would you like to share any of that?
Yeah. One of them was when I was very little. I probably talked to you about this. I remember looking myself in the mirror. I probably was 6 or 7. And then I said, "Oh, you're here again in a female body this time." So without any understanding of anything at all, spiritual at all, or life or past lives or anything like that. So that was very clear to me that I was not here. This was not here for the first time. I had been here before.
There's a sense of knowingness. So when we talk about the different senses beyond the physical five senses, one of the senses that is considered a psychic, or these gifts, these other gifts, it's called claircognizant. So like there's clairvoyant. So there's people who are able to see things that are actually not here and that you see with your eyes, but you're able to see things in your mind's eye. And there's people who are claircognizant, which I am, which is a sense of knowing. You know something, but there's nothing rational or anything logical that would make you have that knowing, but you know it. And so when I was younger, I would have that feeling and knowingness. And for example, I was with a client once and we were talking about something in her life. And I said to her, I know this is going to sound really unusual because this is like when it just started happening to, like, I was starting to have this gift developing in me. And I said, we were talking about something that had to do with a relationship she was in or something she was going through. And I said, by any chance, are you thinking about bunny rabbits jumping up and down in a field? And she looked at me and she said, yeah, Bonnie, I am. How would I know that? There was nothing. So that's where there's a knowingness. So I've had so many experiences like that, that I've come to trust that. And so that's when you talk about that you have a knowingness that has to do with the esoteric knowledge that we're talking about. It delves into what that is all about. And knowing at such a young age that you are here again. Yeah. So that already changes your whole perspective and how you go through life. And that to me, when you talk about talking about truth, because I've been my path has been one of truth also. I've never had a need to be right. I've always wanted to really find the truth. Mm-hmm. And so that's that's the path you've been on. And so here at such a young age, you had that knowledge. So there's so many questions to ask and so many places that could take you. In terms of knowing, okay, so if I've been here before or I've existed before, then why am I here now? And why am I here as a woman? Why? And that leads to a lot of questions. That's all part of the ascension process and part of this esoteric. There's so much written, as you know, in these ancient texts that talk about all of these things.
Yes.
And so when we talk about reincarnation, right? So what's the purpose of reincarnation? I don't think things are just happen just like that. There's such a structure to everything. So why are we reincarnated, right? And so that ties together with what we were talking about earlier, which is when we have different, I've seen it over and over that there's different scenarios that we find ourselves in. And that's an opportunity for our soul that came here on this lifetime to learn certain things through our experiences. And if a person's unconscious, they go through life and they don't realize that's what's actually happening. They think it's just, they just deal with it. But when you're aware and you're on this level, then you're saying, okay, so this is There's a lot of books and a lot of people who've spoken about how they've had experiences about knowing that they chose what they wanted to learn and how they wanted to grow in this lifetime. And so if people remember that, it's really exciting. If they don't, which most people don't, those situations that keep reoccurring tell you that it's like a clue that tells you, okay, so this is what's the lesson in this? And if it keeps recurring, it's like, okay, so maybe that's why I came down this time here in this body, in this place and time to grow in this way. And so when you do that, all of a sudden you're not going through life in the same way. That's why experiencing the shift is a new way of thinking, seeing, and being. Because when you're at this level of consciousness and you're seeing things from that perspective, you start thinking differently, and it starts to influence how you're in the world and what you do and all your choices.
Yeah. That's expansion, right? I love this idea of expanding.
Yeah, expansion. And it's the same thing like when a person, like when you were younger and you went through the trauma that you went through as a child, you said there was in your soul said, I don't want this to be my life. I want it. How do I free myself from this? How do I be able to, how can I be happy and joyful? Because you knew that you were connected with that beauty of your true self, of your soul. And through looking and learning from different situations and growing from it and finding the truth in it and believing in yourself, you got yourself to a place, you grew to a point, you shifted to a point that you're now feeling peace within yourself. So it's an incredible, if that was what you accomplished in this lifetime, it's amazing. Thing is, you're young and you have all the spiritual knowledge and, the world is your oyster. I mean, there's all these incredible experiences to be had. And the more that we're connected with our true self and the more we're able to see these things, then our own soul is we're able to embody more and more of that conscious, that beautiful God or divine or whatever you want that to call it, the source. You're able to embody more of it. And when you're embodying more of it, your whole feeling in life is different and your whole way of being in life is different. And the things that matter to you change and your interactions change. And it's just, there's just such a sense of awe and amazement about all these things being revealed about yourself and about other people and about the world we live in and what's really the real reality behind what our five senses are seeing.
I have been having a lot of fun, of course, with all kinds of energy healing. I have done a lot of things, but then at some point it kind of, like I said, it ended, and now it's just fun to be here. And it's kind of, it's just fascinating to be here and to just kind of be curious about why am I having this experience per se, this conversation with you today and being able to hear, the sounds of the rain. It's just fascinating. It's really fascinating. So I think that's the experience, the kind of experience that I'm very interested in. The day-to-day experience to me, that's magical enough. For now, maybe one day I will, contact you for something else beyond this, or who knows, I will have those experiences.
No, that's why I said to you about being in the moment, because what you're doing in the moment, when you're connecting with the energy of the plant and you're talking with it, you're aware that it's not just what your eyes are seeing. It's not just this green thing or whatever. You can feel the energy. And what's happening is that your energy is connecting with the energy of the plant and you're able to communicate because you're not doing it through words or it's through your energy. And so that's what you're doing. And you're enjoying it. So if you enjoy it, then what I recommend is continue doing it more, because what happens is as you follow your passion, as you follow what's exciting to you, your vibrational frequency goes higher. And when that happens, you never know what kind of information you may get from that interaction, that exchange between you and a plant. You may not know what's going to come through to you. And so that's what I'm saying. It's that being in the moment and being able to experience. It's not using the head. It's using all of your different parts of yourself and you're present, connecting with the energy around you. And so as you're evolving, we do more and more of that. Yeah. So we're not sitting and analyzing as much. We're doing more of experiencing And when we're going and experiencing things and putting ourselves in situations where the experience is exciting like that, then we're growing, and it leads to us embodying more of that high vibrational divine energy. And then more experiences open up to us. So it's a different path than when you're healing. That's a different path. When you're at this level, then that's why I created this master seminar. And that's why I call it a master seminar, because it's for people who are at this kind of place where they're now, okay, so I've done all of that and I'm feeling really good. And I have that peace and that joy. Okay. So it's like, okay, so it feels like, okay, I did it. I've arrived. But you know what? No, because now you start expanding, and your energy and the things that you're talking about, being in the moment and having those kinds of experiences, you keep bringing in more and more of that energy and that cosmic consciousness, and you're growing. And then also another thing is, you were talking about the mind. So there is the brain that analyzes, that does all that. But all the esoteric ancient texts talk about that the energy around us, it's not air, it's energy that's vibrating and it's conscious. In the Kabbalion, it talks about the 7 hermetic principles, and one of them is that all is mind. So when we talk about God or cosmic consciousness, it is mind. So when you talk about mind, that's what I feel like you're connecting with, is that cosmic consciousness. And that feels very different than our finite brain.
So we're almost at the end. I want to mention your books. So I know I have the list here. Hopefully that's the updated list. Yeah. So as I mentioned before, you have published 2 books and 4 workbooks. And they are all available on your website, which is bonniebarness.com. So I have that. He will be at the end of the podcast notes as well. And there you can find everything, all the information about Bonnie and her seminars, her books, workbooks, and everything else in between. So everything is your coaching, of course, too, and your work as a hypnotherapist, a psychotherapist, life regressionist. I didn't know that part. So that's good to know as well. And is there anything else, Bonnie, that I missed? Anything else that you'd like to add at this very end of our conversation? Anything else?
Yes. So also anybody who is having these type of experiences that are beyond the 5 senses, and I consider myself a spiritual guide. So you can always get in touch with me and on the website and sign up for the next one. I have them once a month on the first Thursday of each month. And it would be a pleasure to have you join us. It's interesting because it's definitely the energy of everyone's vibrational frequency is going up. And then as a group, it's all interacting with each other. So it's increasing all of our vibration as well. So it would be a pleasure. And thank you so much, Valeria. It was great talking with you, and you're at such an exciting place in your own life and your journey. So thank you. I look forward to talking with you again.
Thank you. Yes, Bonnie, we'll be in touch again for sure. I would love that. So take good care of yourself for now, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.
Thank you. You too. Bye.